Right now, let's talk right now about, well, where we are with the BBC, the Director General, Tim Davie, fighting for his job after the crisis over Glastonbury, deciding to air the live stream. Bob Vylan, a duo, punk rap duo, hailing from the mean streets of Ipswich, where they decided to chant repeatedly, death, death to the IVF. They kept it online for about 5 hours, aired it live, even though there would have already been concerns about what the singer was going to say. Let's talk about all of that now with Steve Hedley. He's a pro-Palestinian activist and trade unionist. A good morning to you once again, Steve. How are you?
Good morning, Julia. I'm well. How are you?
Very well indeed. I'm hoping we can keep the civility up. It doesn't often end up that way, but let's do our very best, Steve. Do you think that the Bob Vylan, the act that was preceding kneecap, there was already lots of concern about what kneecap would say ahead of Glastonbury at the weekend. Do you think kneecap should have been live streamed on the BBC in the first place? Should they have had their feed taken down the moment they started chanting death, death to the IVF? And do you think any heads should roll at BBC for filming it?
No, I think this is a complete distraction. I mean, while this was going on, we've had hundreds of people killed in Gaza. That should have been the story, not people that are exposing the massacres that are going on in Gaza. Can you imagine, Julia, you're a mother, right? Having the choice as a mother of either feeding her children, which means that you risk yourself to being shot in what can only be described as some sort of dystopian situation where you go along to a food point, and over 600 people now have been killed, 4,000 people have been injured.
No. Hamas claims that.
Your choice is you either let your children starve or you risk death by the IDF and their proxies, the mercenaries who are manning these stations. Now, that's the story.
You think that what happened in Glasgow was a distraction?
Is not the story.
Okay, here's the thing. You say, Bob Vylan, Bobby Vylan, the lead singer of this duo, that he was exposing what's happening. I mean, it's on the front page of the BBC, the Sky website, the ITV. It's on television every single day. It's in the newspapers every single day. Who wasn't aware of the claims, and there are any claims about what is happening in Gaza?
Well, they're not claims. We've had Amnesty International. We've had the United Nations.
They weren't there.
They can't.
They can't verify something if they weren't there.
Are on the ground. They are on the ground. The United Nations.
A lot of those charities have withdrawn.
I mean, this is the problem. You and the Israeli lobby represent about 5% of society, which actually believes the IDF propaganda.
I don't believe any propaganda, but I don't believe Hamas propaganda either.
It's so ridiculous now, the things that they're coming out with, that no one believes them anymore. You're one of the last few people that hold that line.
Okay, I'm probably not. I think just in your world. Let me ask you a simple question, Steve. Steve, I don't believe anything any government tells me anymore unless there's evidence. I don't trust. I've lived in this country long enough. I don't believe. But I
are not a government. Oxfam are not a government.
No,
we have
Steve,
respected humanitarian organisations.
Well, they're respected by you. They're respected by you. A lot of people got some question marks over some of the things they've been saying and doing in recent months in Gaza. Let's talk about. People can only verify that something's happened if they were witnesses to it themselves. Here's my question.
Why won't the Israelis let in journalists to Gaza to verify it?
They've made it very clear because of the threat from Hamas and the threats to those journalists. Okay, let me ask you the question I want to ask you.
200 of your colleagues, journalists, have been killed in Gaza. That should be.
Oh, no, they're not. No, darling, they're not my colleagues. An awful lot of them work for Hamas. Steve.
And you never say, you never condemn it whatsoever. But you want to make a big issue about a punk.
I condemn any killing of a civilian. If people are civilian, Steve, here's the thing. We've got the Israelis organising the Americans, this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and they're sending the aid in. So their argument is that Hamas, I'm not there, I haven't got the evidence that Hamas has been stealing aid. They're the ones who are stealing aid, using it for power, using it to make money and to fund their forces. So they're sending in aid. Let me finish the question.
Let's just say, let me finish the question. Let me say for a second you were correct.
Steve, you can speak as soon as I finish the question.
I'm trying to agree with you, Julia.
Okay, just let me finish the question. It's easier.
Let's just say, okay,
I could have finished it by now if you stopped talking, right? Okay.
Right.
So
let's just say
why,
for a second you were
Steve,
correct, Julia.
Steve,
Let's just
why?
say for a
Oh,
second you were
Steve,
correct.
please, for the love of God, let me ask a question.
People and then murder and then injure another 4,000 people.
Steve,
is that legitimate?
Can
is
we
that
just,
okay?
Okay, can you just take his microphone down, so I can speak and then you can listen, okay? And then you can speak, and I'll shut up when you speak, right? So they're delivering all this aid. No, seriously, because there's no point. It's a horrible listen. They're delivering all this aid, millions of pounds worth of aid to people, but they decided we're going to deliver this aid and then we're going to play the Hunger Games with these civilians, and we're just going to mass shoot hundreds and hundreds, as is claimed by the Hamas-run health ministry, hundreds, and the aid agencies whose doctors are treating these people, hundreds of civilians, babies, children, women, innocent men, trying to get food, and we're just going to shoot them en masse just for fun of it, eh? Why would they do that? What would be the motivation, given the international condemnation that is happening of this? And B, because let's face it, the IDF haven't got a history of being incompetent. We've seen how they've dealt with Hezbollah and the Iran. And B, given that there are 1.5 million mobile phones in Gaza, and so much has been captured on mobile phones, why is there not one, and I mean not one, piece of footage from any of those civilians or anyone on scene of any of these massacres taking place by the IDF? Your turn, Steve.
Okay, well, first of all, the intention, the clear intention, is to make life so difficult for people that they flee Gaza. Look, this isn't a secret anymore, Julia. The ethnic cleansing of Gaza is a plan. The Israelis have admitted that they want people out of Gaza, okay? Trump's even said it. They want Gaza evacuated. They want to turn it into real estate. Secondly, look, it's not just the Hamas government who are saying this. It's every reputable international organisation that are saying people are being killed daily in their tens, if not their hundreds. Amnesty International, Oxfam, we have the United Nations, we've got every reputable...
Who by?
I've just said.
But why is there no video footage of it?
On the ground. Julie, you said you weren't going to speak over me.
But...
Okay. Amnesty International have got people on the ground. United Nations have got people on the ground. Oxfam have got people on the ground.
And they didn't take any video footage.
International agencies that have got people on the ground that are verifying this. As for the footage,
no one put their phone up and took a video.
Julia, let me finish.
But I asked you the question. You're not answering it. Why is there no video footage? I'm answering you
the question. As for the footage, if you look at Al Jazeera, which is on Freeview, you will see pictures. If you look at France TV, which is on Freeview, you will see pictures of people being massacred every day. The fact is, and that the national disgrace is, that the BBC do not show these photographs. They do not show them.
That's not
fascist Israeli government in their narrative. They give it some credence. No one else does.
Okay, it is not true. BBC, you think the BBC wouldn't show footage and then sort of blur out any death? No, there isn't footage of these massacres because they're not taking place by Israeli
Julia, this
soldiers.
Is just a ridiculous argument. You go on Al Jazeera, go on France TV, go on any other TV station, and you will see live streams sometimes, people being massacred, standing, queuing up for food. It happens.
There is one set of footage which actually shows Hamas fighters. This is from quite some time ago now.
No, that was at another location totally.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't at the location where it was claimed there had been IDF soldiers shooting.
He was completely unidentified. Probably one of the gangs in Al Shabaab that the Israelis
not
working hand in hand with the Al Qaeda affiliate Al Shabaab.
Do you accept that Hamas had been, there's plenty of evidence for this as well, that Hamas had been stealing food and selling it and using it to fund their control over the Strip?
Well, the only people that have said that have been the IDF, okay? So I don't know, right? Let's just say, as you know, let's just pretend that that's true. Let's pretend that that's true. Mm-hmm. Is the solution they make people queue up and massacre them as they queue up?
Why would they do that?
They had 4,000 injured.
Why would they? You say so they will flee Gaza, but they're stopping them fleeing Gaza. They've got borders that stop them fleeing, as have the Egyptians. Interestingly, I wonder why that is.
What they want to do is make life so miserable for people in Gaza that when they do eventually give them an option to flee, that most people will take it. And you know, I have to take my hat off to the absolute spirit and determination of people who are in Gaza fighting for their land. I don't think I could do it. I think I would try to get my children out of there. I mean, it must take
well, most Palestinians have left and they've gone to countries like Jordan where they're living in a perfectly peaceful life and having, I mean, wouldn't it be better?
So you agree with ethnic cleansing then?
Oh, I think you'll find
you
that...
agree with ethnic cleansing?
Okay, you can keep repeating the question or you can let me answer it. Okay. I think you'll find that as a general rule, well, actually, in huge number of occasions, it's happened in Yugoslavia, it's happened in Cyprus, it's happened in many, many, many countries since the First and Second World Wars, that actually moving whole populations has actually been, you know, quite a common thing over the years when it comes to ethnic fighting. If I were an Israeli, would I be willing to put up with Hamas-run Gaza on my border after what happened on October the 7th, 2023? Abso-bloody-lutely not. In which case, it's untenable for people in Gaza to remain under Hamas leadership. If they're not going to get rid of Hamas, if Hamas isn't going to lay down their arms and then they're urged to, their declaration, declared statement that they want to annihilate Israel and all of the people in it, I don't think it's tenable for those people to remain, no.
That's just, first of all, it's just not true. It's a completely false premise. Hamas wants to get rid of the Israeli state, which is something completely different.
They want to kill all Jews.
No, they don't. They
literally said, the Hamas leadership literally said a few days after October the 7th, there's video footage on national television.
Let me answer your point directly.
But no, you can't just lie, Steve.
If I was to say to you, okay, the problem is, since 1948, the Israelis, the IDF force came out of terrorist organisations, the Haganah and the Irgun, which actually murdered British troops in the St David's Hotel.
It's a conscripted national defence
Hotel, you would know that. And from then on, they've terrorised the Palestinians. They've killed thousands of them every year, whether it's a declared war or not. Even in the West Bank, where Hamas are not in control, we see settler violence encouraged by the government, and the government continually stealing more and more Palestinian land.
I have very big issues with what's been happening in the West Bank. I concur with that.
This is so. If I was to put it the other way to you, Julia, if I was to say to you, the solution to this is to move a whole population. Well, if I was to say to you, well, let's all move all the Israelis back to Eastern Europe or back to New York or New Jersey, which the vast majority of them came from. Very few of them have got Semitic genes at all. They're not.
That's again completely made up nonsense.
No link to the occupied Palestinian territory.
They do. I mean, I'm sorry. There's never been anywhere called.
You'd be outraged, wouldn't you?
No, because the Jewish people have a right to a homeland, same as everyone else. If the Palestinian people, but the Palestinian leaders over decades have been offered the two-state solution and keep turning it down because they want a one-state solution, the Palestinian leadership, which is they want the land of Israel. Israel is a tiny, tiny, tiny strip of land in the whole of the Middle East. There's plenty of places for people to live in the Middle East, but they want to have that one little bit. This is about the annihilation of Israel and the Jewish people. It's not about the rights of Palestinians. Palestinian people in Gaza could have been living a wonderful life. They could have had that real estate that Donald Trump talks about if they weren't ruled by extremist terrorists whose main aim in life is killing Jews. It's the fault of the Hamas terrorist leadership and the support that the population gives them. That is the problem, not Israel, I would say.
Julia, Hamas didn't exist until the 1980s. Hamas only came about because of the horrible way that the Israelis treated the Palestinians. Yeah. Hamas didn't exist. In fact, Netanyahu funded Hamas. He funded them, and this is on record. This is not me saying it. Google it. Netanyahu funded Hamas to sow division within the Palestinian communities to undermine the PLO leadership.
There's been a lot of things have happened over the years. But if you're really worried about babies and children and innocent women and men dying in Gaza right now, I would say the number one priority would be to oust Hamas. Yeah.
Well, I think the number one priority would be to oust Netanyahu and his murderous fascist Israeli government.
So a democratic government is the problem, not the terrorists of Hamas.
But the Israeli government is a terrorist government, Julia.
It's not a terrorist government. It's not a fascist government. You throw these words around and they're meaningless. You genuinely don't think. Do you think it would be a good thing or a bad thing for the people of Gaza if Hamas were were ousted completely and were gone from Gaza? Good thing or a bad thing?
I think it would be an absolutely brilliant thing if Netanyahu...
No, I didn't ask you that. Do you,
I will get to
Steve?
that. I will get to that.
No, don't get to that. Just answer the question I asked you.
The people of Gaza can determine their own fate.
Well, they had an election in 2005 and they elected Hamas. They haven't had one since. Would it be a good thing or a bad thing for Hamas to be ousted from Gaza? Good thing or a bad thing?
I think if the people of Gaza decided their own fate, that is what we have to respect. And I think that people in the West...
So should Hamas hold elections?
Are not going to help.
Should Hamas hold elections?
Well, they don't hold elections.
They don't. I didn't ask you that. Should Hamas hold elections?
Yes, of course.
And do you think the people of Gaza would vote for Hamas as a terrorist organisation?
I think at this time, I'm not sure what they would vote for, but I have to say that the fact that they're being massacred in their hundreds every day, the fact that
Hamas claims they're being massacred in their hundreds.
And shot by the Israeli terror forces, Israeli genocidal forces, I think that would not help people in Gaza.
No.
And
do you think it would help people in Gaza if Hamas weren't attacking
got rid of a genocidal government in Israel, then perhaps the people of Gaza will choose a different government in Gaza.
You think they would? Do you think there's any hope that we're talking about Donald Trump messaging last night about possible 60-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas? He says Israel have accepted it, whether or not Hamas would agree, whether the terms would be agreed on both sides, that actually... If you could actually come to a point where there was no longer the threat of an attack on Israel, do you think it's possible that Israel and their supposedly, as you call it, quite wrongly genocidal fascist government would not be therefore sending their forces or rockets into Gaza and would leave people in Gaza alone to just rebuild their lives?
Well, Julia, we'll go back to the West Bank, Gaza.
Hamas talk about Gaza.
The West Bank, there are still genocidal forces running through the West Bank, killing people on a daily basis. The genocidal forces of the Israeli government. Right. I hope that there is a ceasefire. I really do hope that there's a ceasefire. But we have to look at it. The reality is that Israel have attacked every country around them in the Middle East.
No, they haven't. They've been attacked by every country around them, and they have fought a war, and they have won each one. They have not attacked. No, they haven't. They were attacked. Every war they've been in, Israel was attacked. You're simply making stuff up now, Steve.
I'm not making stuff up. Every international observer would tell you they continue to strike Syria. They continue to strike Lebanon. Even though there's a ceasefire,
they're attacking Hezbollah forces within Lebanon who've attacked them.
Parts of Lebanon illegally under international law. They occupy parts of Lebanon. They occupy parts of Syria.
Yeah.
The Gaza Strip used to belong to Egypt. Did you know that?
Well, why doesn't Egypt open their border and take all those people in?
Because I'd imagine
they don't want them.
The pressure in Egypt is that they don't want to be involved in ethnic cleansing. They don't want to have an excuse.
I'm going to have to leave it there, Steve, but please get a dictionary and look up the word fascist and look up the word genocide, so next time we can have a more coherent conversation. Steve Hedley, pro-Palestine activist, trade unionist. This is Talk. Have to go to a break.